Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your channel of Math and Engineering Made Easy. Today, we are going to have another session of the SAT practice exam. Excuse me. We did 20 out of the 38 problems last time. I don't know if I can complete all 18 now or they will take longer. So worst case scenario, we'll have another session. Okay, number 21, it says Geraldine is making a simple AC electric generator for a science project using copper wire, cardboard, a nail, and magnets. The first step in building the generator is wrapping the wire around the rectangular prism made from the cardboard and connecting it to a small light bulb as shown in the figure. If Geraldine has 18 feet of wire and needs to leave 3 inches on each end, meaning 6 inches, 3 from this side and 3 from that side, to connect the light bulb. How many times she wrapped the wire around the cardboard? Of course, a foot is 12 inches. So what she has is 18 times 12, 216. But then we are going to subtract 6 from that to get 210 inches. Well, the prism has a cross section of a rectangle, 1.5, and 3.5 is 5. 5 and 5 is 10. So I'm going to divide this by 10. So we said 210 over 10 is 21. 21 times, which is A. Again, you can use the calculator better. Between parentheses, you have 18 feet. You multiply by 12 to get inches. You subtract 3 from the right and 3 from the left. And then you divide by 1.5 plus 3.5 times 2 to get the perimeter. And that gives you 21. Okay, so A. Problem 21, its answer is 21. We don't have a 22. Okay. Organic vegetable harvest. Okay, so the bar graph above shows the vegetable harvest in tons at an organic produce farm during July and August. So the light is July and the dark is August. Of the following, which best approximates the percent increase in the harvest of squash from July to August? So July was, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, so 5, 10, 15. And then it increased to, oh, this is the squash, 2025. So the increase, to get percent increase, you say final minus initial divided by initial times 100%. 10 over 15 is 2/3 times 100%, which is 67 or 66.6. So A. A lot of A's here, but that's a practice test. Okay, Ariana and her brother Liam both walk home from school each day. So they give you the distance and the time. But they go to different schools. Liam's school is here, Ariana's school is there. The figure shows their trip home on Monday. Based on the graph, which of the following statements is true? It took Liam longer to walk home because his school is farther away. First of all, it's closer, and he didn't arrive earlier. They arrived at the same time. It took Ariana longer to walk home because her school is farther away. But it didn't take her longer. They arrived at the same time again. Ariana and Liam walked home at the same rate. No, if they walk at the same rate, then Liam would have arrived earlier, right? The rate is the slope, really. Ariana walked home at a faster rate than Liam. Of course, if they arrived at the same time and Ariana's school is farther, she had to walk quicker or faster to catch up with Liam at the same time. And the slope, as I told you, is the speed. So it should be D. If line L passes through the point -4 and -8 and 8 and 1, which of the following points does line L not pass through? Okay, I think we can calculate the slope again to get the equation of the line. There must be an easier way, but okay, let's see. The slope is, I go from 1 to -8, that's a decrease of 9 in the y, and from 8 to -4, that's a decrease of 12. So this is 3/4. That's the slope. And then if I say y minus 1 equals 3/4 x minus 8, I will get 4y minus 4 equals 3x minus 24, which says 4y equals 3x minus 21. So if x is 0, oh, that doesn't make sense. Did I do it correctly? I picked this point. I say y minus y0 equals the slope times x minus x0. So 4, 4, 3, 24. Y equals 3x minus 21 over 4. So if x, which of the following does not, the line doesn't pass through? The first one? No, I did something wrong. I messed up. Hmm. 20, why 21? I subtracted the 3. It doesn't matter. So let's see. If x is 0, you get -20 over 4, which is -5. So that's fine. 4 times 3 is 12, minus 20 is -8 over 4 is -2. So it should be this point. Just to be on the safe side, I think I did something wrong. So let's see. 12 times 3 is 36, minus 20 is 16, over 4 is 4. 16 times 3 is 48, minus 20 is 28, over 47. Yeah, it's B. I'm sorry, I don't know why I subtracted 3, not 4. It didn't make any sense to me. It's the cold. Yeah, I have an excuse now, right? I keep saying, oh, it must be the cold, not because I don't know how to add and subtract. Sorry. The table above shows the results of a sociological study identifying the number of males and females, female, male, male, with and without degrees, who were unemployed or employed at the time of the study. If one person from the study is chosen at random, what is the probability that that person is an employed person with a college degree? So it has to be employed and with a degree. I have female and male with degree. So either this or that. So the probability is simply 188 plus 177 out of 800. So 365 over 800. If I divide by 3, this is 73. And if I divide, I'm sorry, if I divide by 5, if I divide by 5 is 160, that's 8. Use your calculator, but the problem with the calculator is that you have to say 360 over 800, and it will give you a fraction. So you have to divide those and see which one. So if I divide 73 by 160, I'm lucky I get the same fraction. But simplifying by 5 is easy because you know when you divide by 5, the quickest way is to add the number to itself, meaning times 2, and then delete the 0. So 365 and 365 is 730, so it's 73. 800 and 800 is 1600. You take a 0, you get 160. That's a quick way to do it without a calculator. Or you can use the calculator and make that a fraction using math. So you can go to math and say fraction, and it will tell you 73 over 160. So again, I mean, same thing. Typically, when people contract an infectious disease, like you are getting that from me now, yeah. Especially if you are using a Windows and it will go through the Windows and hit you. Anyway, yeah, I'm getting, hallucinating now, so don't worry about me. Their immune system immediately begins to produce extra white blood cells to fight the disease. We all know that. The scatter plot shows the white blood cells reproducing in an infected patient, along with several values found when modeling the data using a graphing calculator. According to this model, how many white blood cells per microliter of blood did the patient have before he contracted the disease? Well, when you use your calculator, I saw it right away, is that these numbers doubles. These numbers double. 136 times 2 is 272, times 2 is 544, times 2 is 1088. So the number of white blood cells doubles every day or every hour. At hour 4, I have 136. So at hour 3 of infection, I divide this by 2, so I get 68. At hour 2, I had 34. Notice this number is in thousands, of course, because all these you say, oh my God, how come I? At hour 1, I get 17. And at hour 0, meaning before the infection, it's 8.5. When you multiply it by 1,000, you get 8,500, which must be B. Once the patient was producing 85, had 8,500 white blood cells. After an hour, the first hour of infection, this number starts doubling. Okay. Now let's go to the next one, 27. A rodeo is building a circular arena. The arena will have a total of 64 pi square yards. This is pi r square. It's an area, right? Total area. So if I divide by pi and take the square root, r is 8 yards. Okay. And can either be left open for rodeo competitions or divided into 12 equal sections through the center for auctions. When holding auctions, the rodeo has an average of 4 bulls and 8 horses for sale. A bull cannot be placed in a section directly beside another section containing a bull, and all edges of these sections must be reinforced with strong steel to keep the bulls from getting out. Which of the following represent how much steel in yards the rodeo will need to reinforce the 4 bull sections? They said you cannot place 2 bulls next to each other, meaning you don't use a common wall. So if I have, and I divided this oops, into 12, I can have a bull here and then leave one or two and have maybe a bull here, and a bull there. So it doesn't matter where, but I don't have two next to each other. Now I need to reinforce the walls, and I have an arc here. I know that this is 8 and that's 8. So that's 16, but there are 4 bulls. 16 times 4 is 64. So it's either one, this or that. It definitely is this, because that's not 64 pi, it's just 64. And then I'm going to add the 4 arcs. You know that the length of the arc is r times the angle in radian. These are 360, and I divided them into 12. So if I divide 360 by 12, I get 30 degrees. You multiply by pi and you divide by 180. So you get pi over 6. So now I have 4 arcs. The radius is 8. And the angle is pi over 6. I can simplify by 2, so this would be 2, and that would be 3. 2 times 8 is 16, so 16 pi over 3. Exactly, that is the answer. Right? You know that the length of the arc is the radius times the angle in radian. And 30 degrees is pi over 6. Lena bought a saltwater fish tank that holds 400 gallons of water. She started filling the tank on Friday, but then stopped after putting only 70 gallons of water in the tank, meaning we are left with 400 minus 70, or 330 gallons. On Saturday, she bought a bigger hose and began feeding the tank again. It took an hour and 50 minutes on Saturday to completely fill the tank. Which equations represent the number of gallons of water in the fish tank on Saturday, given the amount of time in minutes that Lena spent filling the tank? Okay, so I have 70. It's either this or that. You cannot have 70x, so one of these two. Now, the number of gallons. I have to fill 330, and it took me, excuse me, 1 hour and 50 minutes. 1 hour is 60 plus 50 is 110 minutes. Right? So when you divide by 110, because you don't know, you want to know x, which is how much gallons per, or minutes per gallon, right? That the new hose, the bigger hose is producing. If we call it x, you get 3x. 330 over 110 is 3. So that must be this. This is gallons per minute. And x is how many minutes it takes. Okay, I'm sorry. To do 1 gallon. Yeah, this is gallons, this is minutes, and that should be minutes. Yeah, it cannot be 110 because that doesn't represent the 330. The 330 here is important because that's how much remains to be filled. So it has to be 3x plus 70. Number 29. Still, ouch, it's taking long. A self-storage company has three sizes of storage units. The ratio of small to medium is 3:5, and the ratio of medium to large is 3:2. Usually when you get problems like that, you want to have a common denominator, or so to speak, you have to find the least common multiple of 5 and 3, which is 15, so to make it easier on you. So I can compare small to large directly without going through medium. 5 became 15, so I multiply these by 3, meaning 9 to 15 is the same as 3 to 5. But here I multiplied by 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So now 3 to 2 is the same as 15 to 10. The company analyzes its business models and current consumer demand and determines that it can benefit from utilizing larger economies of scale. In other words, it decides to grow its business based on current economic conditions and plans to build a second, larger self-storage building. The company's research indicates that the new market would benefit from having only two sizes of storage, small and large, in the same ratio as its current facility, so the same ratios. What ratio of small to large should it use? 9 to 10. You see, once you get the same common, you can compare all three together. Yeah, 9 to 10 is D. The equation 1 over x plus 3 over x equals 1 over 7. What is that? The equation shown above represents the following scenario. A chemical lab uses two air purifiers to clean the air of contaminants emitted while working with hazardous material. One is an older model, and the other is a new model that is considerably more energy efficient. The new model can clean the air of contaminants 3 times as quickly. So this is old, this is new. Working together, the two air purifiers can clean the air in the lab in 7 hours. So that's time. Which of the following describes what the term 1 over x in the equation represent? The portion of the air the older model can clean in 1 hour. And the portion of the air the new, it's not new. The time it takes, no, it's A. That's the portion it can clean in an hour. And 3 over x is the portion that this can clean in an hour. Yeah. And basically, no, that would be correct if there is no second equation, meaning we don't have no. And it's not a time because the time is in the denominator here. Okay. Cleans 1/7. Both of them clean 1/7 in an hour. Okay, and that takes one out of 4, and this is 3 out of 4. Oh my God. Lost it. Okay, what is the solution to the equation above? Just distribute or multiply or cross multiply the 3 and the 2. Anyway, so both of these are divisible by 3, so 90 over 3 is 30x minus 12 over 3 is 4. Half of 8x is 4x, and half of 10 is 5. Subtract 4x from both sides. And then add 4 to both sides. You get 26x equals 9. And then divide by 26 both sides. So you get x is 9 over 26. X, oh my God, this pen is not working properly. In these problems, they don't give you multiple choice, okay? The last 8. If n to the 5 halves, n to the 5 halves equals 32, what is n? Okay, you can take the 5th root, that's 2, 2 square is 4. But you can raise both sides to the power of 2/5 or 0.4, right? Because 2/5 times 5 halves is 1, and you can say 32 raised to the power of 0.4, and you get 4. So n equals 4. That's easy. When a thrift store gets used furniture in good condition to sell, it researches the original price and then marks the used price down by 40% of that price. And then on the first day of each of the following month, the price is marked down an additional 15% until it's sold or it reaches 30% of its original price. Suppose the store gets a piece of used furniture on January 15th. The price is $18.48 and it's sold in March 10th of the same year. What is the final selling price, not including tax? Round your answer to the nearest whole dollar. Be careful. If we go below 30%, we stop at 30%. So the first thing we do usually is to say, what is 30% of this number? I cannot go below 554.40. You receive it on January 15th. That's my anniversary. 40%. So I'm gonna, meaning if it's marked down 40%, meaning it will become 60% of that. 1848 times 0.6. So on January 15th, its price is 1108.8. Then on February 1st, it will drop 15%, meaning it will be 85% of that. So times 1 minus 0.15. Now it's 942.48 cents. On March 1st, it drops another. So I multiply it by 1 minus 0.15. It becomes $801. They say, because on March 10th, it's not a new month, so it stops at 801, since they said full rounded to the nearest whole dollar, so $801. Number 34. Many sailboat manufacturers sell kits that include instructions and all the materials needed to build a simple sailboat. The figure shows the finished dimension of a sailboat from such a kit. The instruction indicates that cos x degrees is B. but they don't give you the value of B. What is the value of B? Here is X. Okay. This is an isosceles triangle. So if this is 12, that's also 12 feet. It's not drawn to scale, it doesn't matter. But we know from an isosceles triangle, if I draw a perpendicular on the base, it becomes perpendicular to the base, right? So that is 8 feet, and that is 8 feet. So in this triangle, of course, you can name it ABC. Cos X is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos X degrees, which equals B, equals adjacent over hypotenuse, equals 2/3, or 0.667. Did they mention? No, they don't. So you can leave it like that, or you say 0.66. And usually we use 3 decimal places, so we can say 0.667. Okay, number 35. In the figure shown, line B is not shown, is parallel to CD and passes through the point 0 and -1. And also passes through the point 2 and Y. What is the value of Y? Well, that's ridiculous. If it's 1 below this point, this would be 1 below that point, so Y is 3.5. That's so easy. I don't know why. Yeah, some people may find the equation of this line is that Y equal the slope times X, and there is no Y-intercept. So they say 4.5 over 2, or 9/4 X. That's the equation of this line. So the equation of that line would be the same except -1, because the Y-intercept is -1. So when you substitute X is 2, you get 9/2 minus 1, which is 7/2, which is 3.5. But you don't need to do any of that. It's parallel and it's 1 below. So every point here goes 1 lower. It doesn't take 5 seconds, this one. Recycling of certain metals has been a common practice dating back to pre-industrial times. For example, there is evidence of scrap bronze and silver being, I don't know why is that. Okay, European countries, today there are recycling companies, curbside collecting bins. As a general rule, recycling pay for metals by weight. This may be the important part. Suppose that a person brings 3 pounds of copper and receives $8.64. So how much per pound? Well, we'll see what they ask. And 24 ounces of nickel and receives 10.08. Okay. If another person brings in equal weights of copper and nickel, what fractional portion of the money would he receive from the copper? And there are 16 ounces in a pound. You can get the price per ounce or per pound. Well, 24 over 16 is 1.5. This is 1.5 pound. In fact, if I multiply that by 2, I say 3 pounds of nickel would give me $20 and 16 cents. So if I want to see how these are now equal quantities. So if I divide this by that, I get the fraction he gets for the copper if he brings the same amount. Maybe some of you would ask, why did you use 3? I don't have to. I could have divided this by 3 and get the price per pound, and divide this by 1.5 and get the price of pound and get the ratio. More work, but it's the same thing. If I divide now 864 by 2016, I get 0.42. This number, by the way, don't ask me how I know. I can explain this to you. If you multiply it by 7, you get 3. So I get 3/7 or 0.428 or 4.429, since we use 3 decimals, 3 decimal places. That's the fraction he gets for the copper and 4/7 for the nickel. Okay. As I said, if I had divided, it's the same thing because I would be dividing both by 3. I could have divided 864 by 3 and say copper gets you $2.88 per pound. And if I divide this by 1.5, 1008 by 1.5, I will get 672. Wait a second, something is wrong. I did something wrong. How, when I divided this by that, I get 3/7? Yeah. The nickel. So if I assume each one got a pound, I will divide this by that, and I get the same exact amount. If I multiply by 7, I get 3/7. So 3/7 for copper, 4/7 for nickel. I don't know why I wasted my time doing that. Last 2 problems. Okay, 38 minutes. I didn't want it to be that long. Body mass index, or BMI, is one of several measures used by doctors to determine a person's health as indicated by weight and height. Low density lipoprotein, or LDL cholesterol, known also as the bad cholesterol, is another health indicator and consists of fat proteins that clog arteries. Following are the results of a study showing the relationship between BMI and LDL for 12 patients, so I have 12 points, and the line of best fit for the data. How many of the 12 people have an actual LDL that differs by 10 or more milligram per deciliter from the LDL predicted by the line? Okay, let's see. More than 10. This one is roughly 5. This one goes from 128 and it should be 110. So that's 1. This one is less than 10. This one is less than 10. Like two squares or 2 lines are 10. So this is less. Oh, that's definitely more than 10. Less than 10, less than 10. Yeah, definitely more. Less than 10, less than 10. So the answer is 3. That's not math. It's counting. According to the line of best fit, what is the closest whole number BMI approximation for a person that has an estimated LDL level of 140 milligram? Okay, so they want the BMI. Here is the 140. And definitely that's 24, right? That's the closest. So 24, the BMI is 24. And that concludes it. Um, so I hope you benefited from that. And again, if you have any questions or some topic in the SAT that you want me to review for you, solve more problems, just let me know. Send me a note and I'll do my best to help you with that. Otherwise, I wish you all the best in that test. And until we meet again, I wish you all the best.